Are you looking to learn more about your spiritual journey? Are you on a healing journey? Have you tried conventional ways of healing but didn't get the results you desired? If so, this podcast is for you. My name is Reverend Dr. Jackie Cope, and I'm a metaphysical minister, intuitive guide, and teacher. Here at RavenRabbit, we believe that your ancestors, spiritual guides, and divine self are ready and eager to help you heal and prosper. We approach life, healing, and happiness through a holistic, indigenous spiritual lens to create the lives we want. Join me to radically change your life today. Hello, and welcome to the Raven Rabbit Wellness Studio podcast. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Jackie Cope, and I am so glad that you are here today. We are rounding out and finishing up the end of our Rooted series. If you're just joining us here and you've not listened to the previous podcast, I highly encourage that you go back and start at R, regulate. But if not, if you're here for the devoted, maybe this is the message you are meant to land on today, and that's totally fine. But I do encourage you to go back all the way through because they all do play and work on one another. So thank you for being here. I am a metaphysical minister and a Native American healer. I am an enrolled member of the Washoe tribe of California and Nevada, and I was raised in Southern California. That's a little bit of background about me. I have a lot of formal Western academic education. I also have a lot of spiritual metaphysical trainings as well. And I'm also just my own teacher and student. I love to learn. The process of learning is really what fuels me and gets me excited. I love to help others learn and help teachers teach. It all blends together for me. So I've had a formal career, professional side in education, and also within my spiritual business. So that's a little about me. If you wanted to know, I felt called to share that. Let's get started today with a short invocation to just bring us together and grounded. Creator, thank you for bringing us here together in this beautiful format of our podcast. This is a sacred, special place where I get to talk about things that I don't normally talk about in the mainstream area. But, that's to say, like, life is changing. I do talk about this stuff a lot. But with this spiritual community, I know I could take it to the next level because that's what they're ready to hear. That's what you guys are here for. And that is fun. And when I say I could speak candidly about it, because you are my audience, and that's what you're here for. And it's so exciting to express myself in this way. And I want to express myself in that way through this podcast. And I want to encourage others to express themselves in a way that feels called to them. So that is my invocation. So we are all just deep expressions of our truest self. And so it is. So D is for devoted in our rooted framework. Devotion is choosing alignment again and again. We have walked through regulate, observe, orient, tend, and embody. And now we arrive at the final letter, D, devoted. And this is where most people drift. I was thinking about the word devotion, leading up to this podcast episode. And it's a word that's thrown around a lot in formal Christian settings. It's a word I heard a lot. It's not an abnormal word if you come from a religious Christianity background. We talk about devotion to the Lord. We hear about devotion to the word. This is not an abnormal word. However, I am reclaiming this word and really focusing in how we could be devoted to our spiritual practice for ourselves. Because I am all about the higher self in a self relationship. And when we are fully devoted to ourselves, our higher selves, that devotion reflects into how we treat the universe and creator. Okay, and a lot of people get bogged down by devotion in its Christian sense of meaning and definition. Okay, and we're going to leave that definition to the side tonight, and I want you to think about this in a new way. So, people drift when they hear this, not because they're incapable of devotion, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're not spiritual enough, because I feel like devotion gets thrown around and you're like, I'm not godly enough for that. I'm not good enough for that. That's not the case either. You are good enough. It's because devotion is rarely taught correctly. A lot of times we use devotion in a capitalistic, westernized way of being devoted to our jobs, the hustle, the grind, and we can see devotion in that light too. And that's not where we want our devotion to be rooted and seated in, because that type of devotion is with a lot of intensity, it comes with a lot of performance, it comes with a lot of rigid discipline that might not follow our spiritual laws, our higher selves. Those things are not devotion. Devotion is relational consistency with yourself, your higher self, and with spirit, however you view spirit, God, source, universe, however you define that. Okay, so it's a relationship between yourself and creator, and that is spiritual maturity. So I want to talk about what devotion is not, because devotion, I talked a little bit about devotion in the Christian sense. Let's talk about how devotion is perceived in spirituality. In spirituality, we see stuff online where we're told to wake up at 4 a.m. to prove something. I was one of those people. I used to totally be like that. I woke up at 4:30 so that I could work out at 5, do some spiritual work after my workout. Nothing major, just like prayer, write, journal, something like that, and then take my shower and get ready for the day. It was a beautiful way to start my day. But where I am at now in my journey, if you've listened, it's not possible. It's not physically and mentally possible for me to do that anymore. Maybe one day again, maybe not. I don't know. I believe in slower mornings now. But devotion is not having to choose this rigid wake up at 4 a.m. to prove something. It is not performing spirituality on social media. You might see my social media post. I use my social media posts as an expression of my spirituality. I'm not performing it. It's just me doing what I love to do. I love art. I love creating. I was the kid drawing stuff all the time. I was using paint in the computer and like painting things. So like Canva is a dream come true for the girl in me who used paint all the time to make such fun posters. So like social media is not this performative thing for me, it is expressive thing for me. But for some, it could be a performative thing, and it could easily fall into that. You know, I have to keep myself in check and my ego in check so that it doesn't turn into that. Devotion is not forcing yourself into rituals that you secretly resent or don't understand. We are told by a lot of creators and spiritual coaches to do this ritual, and we do it, maybe, and you're like, I don't know why I did that, or this is stupid. Well, this is a fine line here. Let me talk a little bit further on this. Because sometimes we do a ritual and we don't get why, but because we're learning. Because there's a difference between in teacher, I'm trying to think of my teacher talk of like academic struggle or like a little like focused struggle. It's okay to like struggle with something while you learn for the sake of learning. Okay, the difference here is like you if you've fully learned it, you understand it, but you're doing it and you secretly resent it, that's not the type of ritual we want to do. Because there are many things in spirituality that I've done that I also just needed time to experience and then be like, oh, you know what? I get this now. Easy example to explain that has some physical to it. If you do yoga, there are yoga poses, and some of them are extremely hard. You might resent some of those poses. Like, why do we ever do that pose? My body does not go that way. This is so hard. But there's a difference between a healthy amount of struggle of like, I'm going to do this yoga because it's good for me and it's going to achieve the results that I want, whether that's a spiritual thing, a physical thing, whatever it is. But you don't have to secretly resent it. You're just struggling with it. So that's an easy explanation because we can do hard things. Forcing yourself to do a ritual that you resent that doesn't align with your cultural upbringing or feels really uneasy in your higher self, those are the types of things we are thinking of. Okay, devotion is also not reinventing yourself every 30 days. And this also comes with a caveat. There are some lines in human design where this is kind of encouraged. So if you know your human design, you reinvent yourself and that's okay. However, if you don't know your human design, look it up. You should just do that. And there's many of us who shouldn't be doing that. That's a very select few people who do really thrive in that reinvention every 30 days, like in seasonal aspects. They really thrive on it and their human design calls for it. However, there are some of us that that's not what we're just chasing if you're just doing it. Do not just chase and reinvent for the sake of reinventing because you were told to do so. We have to get grounded, and that's where I'm going to say go all the way back to the beginning of the series and start with R and start to get regulated. That'll quickly reveal to you what needs to be reinvented and what does not. Because if you're not regulated and you feel that something's off and you're in dysregulation and you're making choices from dysregulation, you might think reinvention is the answer, that this is it. This is the thing you've been looking for. It probably is not if you're not regulated. So you've got to work on that. Devotion is steady. It's quiet. It's choosing alignment repeatedly, but not perfectly because life happens. That's what we came here for. Our souls signed up to have all of these experiences within our soul contract. A life is going to happen. Okay? And I fully welcome life to happen because that is the whole point of being here. I'm not trying to be perfect and always be in these high frequency energies constantly because that gets into like spiritual bypassing at that point. So we want to just choose our devotion repeatedly. So a lot of you do experience insight. You have moments of clarity. You get to heal something and you're feeling really great from it. You're feeling powerful. And then life gets really busy. That's what happens. We have ebbs and flows. And then you might feel tired or something could trigger you. And then you get distracted because you have to deal with the thing. And then just going back to your spirituality or your devotion can feel uncomfortable. Okay? And you just sum it all up to like, oh, I just felt off. I wasn't being myself. When we are devoted, we can prevent that cycle from happening. We can prevent that drift from happening. Start to avoid rest, meaningful rest. Okay. These are things that happen as we drift. Your drift is not a failure. Like I said, life happens. It's simply just disconnection. Devotion is returning before disconnection becomes your identity. And that's really important. I go over deep identity work in a series that will be upcoming soon. In a few weeks, we'll be going live. We're going to be diving deep into it. We have to know our identity. And devotion keeps us devoted to our identity that we identify and consciously choose. More on that in that course. So, devotion is choosing again. It's choosing alignment repeatedly and not perfectly. You're still going to get tired. You're still going to get triggered. You're still going to forget things. We are human. Life happens. Even with all my affirmation work and all of the things, I just approach my tiredness, my triggers, and my forgetfulness in a new way. It still happens, but it doesn't send me in the spiral that it used to send me to because of my devotion to my practice. And devotion's not never drifting. You might drift. You might be the most spiritual person that ever existed, and you could have a moment of drifting. It just happens. Devotion is being able to notice that drift and returning back to your practice. So, you know me, if you've been listening to this series, we have an audit, the RavenRabbit Devotion Audit. This is where we consult our high self. We have to return to our high heart, which is right above our heart chakra. I was just reading Joe Dispenza. Again, this week I've been writing my doctoral dissertation on spiritual healing for the University of Metaphysics, and I have a section about Joe Dispenza because he gets really deep into brain scans and heart coherence, and he has the EKGs. I love it. It's very scientific. My data academic side of me just relishes in it. And he started talking about a certain gland that is above our heart. And I was like, there's the high heart I'm always talking about. There is a scientific thing behind it. It is very important. So we want to return to our high heart. And that is just the space above your physical heart. It's an easy connection with your higher self center. So you can connect to your higher self through your third eye, your crown, and your high heart. Those are ways I've experienced it. I'm sure there's other ways, but those are ways I like and the ways that I teach. So let's walk through what a devotion audit looks like. So you bring your attention above your heart, you get connected to your high self, you're going to slow your breath, you're going to quiet your mind, you're going to have an intention. Here's the intention, because you know I believe in the work of affirmations. I am willing to see how I'm relating to my practice. You can see this is not a crazy affirmation. Okay, we're not hitting the gas pedal and the brake all at once and causing a combustion. We are just willing to see how we're relating to our practice. That's it. We're going to gather information. We're gathering our data. We're not judging. We're just assessing our relationship. So here's that relationship question. Ask from your high self, how devoted am I to my alignment right now? And every time I do this, like, my high self's always online. And right now I'm hearing 89%. That's my answer. We can work with percentages. I love this style and this technique. I want you to think of 0 through 100, 0 being the lowest and the weakest, 100% being spot on at full capacity, because I use my percentage scales for everything. And I am so in tune and connected with my intuition and higher self. It just communicates to me very quickly. It's a way my human brain can understand all of this, so much information that we have spiritually. So how devoted am I to my alignment right now? So whatever number you might be hearing, I'm 30%, I'm 35. You might not hear the number so much. You might be like, I hear I'm inconsistent, or I'm distracted, or I'm really steady. No judgment, just hear what it is that you have. Mine is 89% right now in real time as I go through this audit with you. So now we need to identify the drift. Where have I drifted? And be honest with yourself. Devotion requires that honesty. Maybe you stopped regulating. Maybe you stopped observing and went straight to reacting. Right now I'm hearing mine because I'm like, ooh, what is mine? 89% is pretty high. I'm pretty happy. That's good. But where have I drifted? And I'm hearing my intuition and higher self being like, rest. Rest is where you drifted. You need to rest. You constantly work. And that is very true. Okay. So maybe you know what is aligned, but you're avoiding it. Drift reveals where you're scared to grow. And that's a big one for me because when it comes to rest, it's very scary. I like to think of a body motion stays in motion. I want to keep going. I don't want the world to fall apart. That's like where fear comes up. We start getting into a fear. So we're asking, What makes devotion difficult right now? Why is it difficult for me to rest? Well, because I think the world's going to end. Well, that's not very fun to rest if I think the world's going to end. And the truth starts coming out at you. Maybe it's fatigue, maybe it's fear of visibility, fear of growth. Mine is a fear of like false it's a fear of like these catastrophes that are unrealistic. Maybe you have grief, maybe you have external pressure. Maybe you have comfort in an old identity. Ding, ding, ding. There's mine. My comfort in my old identity that I have to wait for the other shoe to drop. When you name your resistance, you can start weakening it. Because I'm no longer going to identify with that. That's not going to be me. I'm going to move forward from that. Step 5, we're going to clarify the practice. Ask, what is one practice I am recommitting to? You don't need to do 10. You don't need to do a full life overhaul. One thing. Maybe it's a morning high self check-in. Maybe it's an audit. Because I have several audits in here. Just go back and listen starting from R. Maybe it's daily breath work. Maybe it's boundary reinforcement. Maybe it's a weekly reflection. Whatever it is that you're doing, it's your devotion's going to grow through that repetition. Pick something that it's going to be. Step 6, we're going to seal the commitment. We're going to internally say something like, I return or I recommit. I am in relationship with my alignment. Devotion is a return, not a restart. You don't have to start all over again. I see a lot of spiritual coaches who buy a whole new journal. Thank you for listening. Expand the life, healing, and happiness of others in your field by sharing this episode. You can get more of my content and other helpful tips by following RavenRabbit LLC on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Be sure to comment on Spotify and answer the episode's questions so I can keep creating content you love and desire. Thank you so much. Good morning to my high self, and I say good morning to my spirit team. That's it. I want to make sure that I'm starting every day with them and letting them know that they're invited because we have free will while we're here. And I choose to have spiritual alignment. I choose to have the divine God of his hand in my work and in what I do. I want that divine alignment. That's it. I just open it up every single day with that free will that I have. That's a really simple tool. There's more tools that are going to be online that I am going to be putting out there as I conclude up all of these podcast episodes. I'm going to wrap it all up and put in a nice little package for you with a little bow on my website with lots of things for you to do in the course. So I want you to hear me clearly here. Devotion is not intensity. Intensity is going to burn out. Your steadiness is what's going to build legacy. You don't need dramatic transformation every month and reinvention. You need consistent alignment over time. That is how your identity changes. This is how your nervous system will stabilize. That is how trust is built. So when you devote, you stop abandoning yourself. You stop outsourcing your authority. You start to trust your rhythm. And then you stabilize your power. Devotion turns into this constant growth identity. You align with it because you're willing to learn. Devotion doesn't have to just be this thing that you do. It becomes who you are. So, I want to talk about a few things here with me on my spiritual journey. I'm just gonna, like, you know me, I write notes and stuff. This one I'm gonna riff a little and we'll see where it takes us. I have in mind kind of what I want to talk about. So, I want to share a time in my life I was drifting and coming in and out. This was pretty much my whole upbringing. I was always so spiritually curious my whole life. Told you I've been connected to the other side since forever. Always have been. Seeing spirits, seeing things with my actual physical eye, hearing things outside of me in my physical space that other people could hear too sometimes when they're around me because people who know me just know that stuff happened all the time. And I would like dive in and out of church and no church and trying to find my spirituality. And in my late teens, early 20s, became very curious. I went to college, so I was allowed to explore a little bit more. My parents always allowed me to explore, but I got to do it without having to ask and like, "Oh, can I go with so and so to this church or can you drive me here?" Like there was none of that. I got to just explore. And I found a really great church. I still like it. It's a great Christian church. It's non-denominational. And I would be in and out of it. There'd be times I'd be so committed. I'd have my Bible, I'd have my Bible study group and my book and my notes and my folder, and I would do morning readings. I'd be like super devoted. And then I wouldn't do it. There'd be weeks, months, and I'd be like, "Oh, I haven't done this. I better dive back into it." And then again, full steam ahead, doing all of the things. I did this in and out, in and out. It was from many things, partly because I was not in a good marriage. I was trying to fit myself into a box that I did not belong in, and I had the idea of devotion backwards because in Christianity, you're told to devote yourself to your husband whom is supposed to be of high moral ground and standing and be what you would imagine a godly husband would be. Mine was not. And when you're committing yourself to be a submissive wife and you do that with a husband who is not fully committed to his role, nor does he know his role, you end up in a big old mess. That's where I was. I was in a big old mess because I so deeply wanted that. And in my understanding of religion at the time, I wanted the devoted husband who read the Bible, who wanted to do it with me, all of those things. And I would just go in and out of all of this. This was through my whole 20s. And then after I finished my doctorates and that husband had left, we got divorced. I was like, I need to do something for myself. I've always done something for everybody else, whether it was my parents because I had to be a good daughter. I got married at 21 with him since I was 19. Like, then I had to do everything for my husband. I was 30 and was like, you know what? I need to do something for me. I signed up for my yoga certificate, something I always wanted to do but was not allowed to do. And I really dove into the spiritual side of yoga I didn't know existed. I've always used yoga as like a physical therapy treatment for my physical ailments. Didn't really know that there was a spiritual side to it, but I started studying it and I was like, wow, this is great. Like, there's so much to learn here and I love it. And then I started really diving into my spirituality from it because I was like, wait, there's other things I could do. And I started typing in like what I believed and trying to find anything on the internet that would make it all make sense. And I always believed in God. So I was like, if God's giving me these little seeds here, like something's happening, something's gonna pop up, God's gonna make it happen. I came across the University of Metaphysics and I was very skeptical at first. I was like, what is this school? Is this real? And I had finally met my current partner at the time. I'd been looking at it for a while before I'd met him. Then I met him. Him and I are really spiritual together. And I was like, hey, I really want to do this, but I want you to look at the website. Like, is this legit? Like, does this look real? Or do you think it's a cult or something? So I was a little nervous. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. He looked it over. My mom looked it over. They were all like, "No, this looks good. This looks like legit. You should do this if this is what you want to do." And I did. And I fully committed. And ever since then, since I was 30, like super deep into my spirituality. It has blossomed. My husband is a fully committed spiritual partner that I always longed for, and in such a great way. So I got recommitted, but I had to change what I thought was true. I had to learn and evolve and grow. I had to go beyond what the Bible was teaching me. Because what I've learned through all of this is Jesus was a metaphysician. Jesus was trying to teach us all that we could be him, that we had that power. That is the Holy Spirit you feel inside of you. Okay? And all of those teachings were to teach us that we have access to that. We are divine spiritual beings of the Creator. And I've had these long talks with my husband, and we're pretty much on the same page with a lot, but we still have our spiritual differences with nuances, and it's really fun. And that's when I talk about a little bit earlier, I said something about not so much being resistant, like you think something's not for you. Sometimes you're just being shown something and it will be for you. You just don't know that yet. And that's okay because you've got to learn about these things in what is digestible for you. Because the world of spirituality is huge and there's so much there and so many directions you could go with it. And our human bodies and human brains can only take so much. So, I recommitted. Now my devotion every day is just a part of my life. I wake up, I say good morning to my guides mostly every morning and to my higher self. If I'm not doing that, I'm saying my affirmations like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be and I am safe. I love myself unconditionally. I am my own true love. I'm going through my affirmations. I might journal. I do a lot of reading. Right now tends to be a little bit higher of a devotional time because, like I said, I'm writing my dissertation on spiritual healing. So I feel like it's a little bit of an inflated devotional time because I'm spending a little bit of extra time. I know that when that's over, I'm going to scale back a little because that just goes with the ebbs and flows of study. That's okay, but I'm going to need to draw it back. I've been in this really deep study of spiritual healing and I'll be ready for that rest. But it's not that I'm completely cutting off and drifting. I just won't be so thick in it, which is totally fine. And because I've been so consistent for so long, it's nothing's going to change. I am going to stay devoted to my spiritual practice and I'm going to continue to learn and to grow. Another thing I wanted to talk about. So that was just about like a time I was drifting in and out is because I hadn't found the right thing for me. Now I have all of those things, and being committed and devoted is second nature. It's just who I am. I am always thinking about my spiritual path and being committed to it. So, another thing I wanted to talk about was when you become deeply devoted to your spiritual practice, to your spiritual path, you stop second guessing yourself. You stop asking, well, that can't be it. That's not true. What could it be? You don't ask these questions anymore. Once you hear it, once you see it, once you know it because it's been downloaded, that is it. I don't play these games of like trying to decipher what my intuition is trying to tell me. That has been very supported by my partner. And I know a lot of people don't have that. They have these moments of clarity, these claircognizant moments where they just know or they just see it in their third eye and they have no one to talk to about it. So when you have no one to talk to, you feel that you have no one to talk to about it because you always have your higher self and your spirit team to talk to about it. But when you feel that you have nobody in the 3D world to talk to about it, you start being like, well, Is that really what that means? Did I really see that? Is that what I really felt? Am I sure? You start questioning it all. I don't question it anymore. It started about March, April, May, maybe May of 25, about a year ago. I just it is what it is. And some people, if you're not in the spiritual world, would think I am saying some of the craziest shit you've ever heard. And I will tell my husband what I saw, what I felt, and what I experienced, and he is so with me and with it. He doesn't question me. We'll have a meaningful conversation with questions. It's not that he just takes all my word for it and is like, "Oh, yes, hi one, you were so right." No, no, no. If you met my husband, that is not it. We talk about it in a serious way, but he's not questioning the fact that I experienced it. We'll talk about like, "Oh, this is what I think it means. What do you think?" And this is so real and this is so cool. So I'll give you some examples. I got three. I got so many good examples of this. When it first started happening to where I didn't question anymore and the visions became more powerful was I was getting ready to go out to the Navajo Nation to do my education consulting. And I take the trailer out there because I prefer to camp over staying at the hotel. And I have to get everything ready for that. I gotta pack my food, I gotta pack my clothes. So I kind of run around the day before a little bit crazy, just getting everything done. And I just felt this heavy presence with me all morning. I was like trying to put my clothes in the bag, felt it standing right beside me. Try to get my kitchen food into the cold bag so I could take it to the trailer and put it in the fridge. And finally, I just stopped what I was doing and I was like, "Who are you and what do you want? Why are you here?" Because you're really distracting me and I'm trying to get this work done. And I always start too with my guides before I get there, like, are they here for my highest and best? Should they be here or should they not be? So, I did all that and my guides were like, yes, they're here for you. You can talk to them. This is fine. And it was a masculine, I felt masculine. He was like telling me that I have my beautiful business. It's here, but things are changing and it's not going to be what I think it's going to be. He was like giving me business advice and I'm like, "But I'm trying to get ready to go to the Navajo Nation right now. Like, what are you trying to tell me?" Like, he was just telling me to like be prepared and to be ready. And he was just like opening my heart and getting my auroric field ready for it. And so once I talked to him and we had our conversation, he was gone, everything was lighter. It's just that you're gonna have different things happen to you that get your attention, whatever that might be. I'm very connected to my third eye and to be able to talk within my head to the outside things that are not within me. That's an easy way to like communicate with me. And I told my husband that. He doesn't think I'm crazy. He's not thought that I've lost my mind. He's like, "Oh, interesting. What do you think your business is going to be?" Like we start having a really thoughtful conversation around it. "Why do you think he chose now to tell you that?" Like that's the kind of things my husband will ask me. Next one. Beautiful. I was in my classroom staying late one day and I was like, "I got to get this grading done. So let me just stay here and get it done." And I'm working and again this was fast though. I felt the presence come in and I just stopped. I was like, "Are you here for my highest and best?" "Yes." And I asked my guides like, Can I talk to this entity? Is it okay?" "Yes." He like changed my life. He put so much information into me. He It's just a beautiful story. It was life changing. And I was trying to do my work. I was at work, finishing my grades, staying late, and I ended up having this long conversation with this entity and completely changing and understanding everything about a certain aspect of me personally. And I get to the car and call my husband and be like, "You won't believe what I have to tell you when I come home. I didn't do any of my grading, but like a lot of other stuff happened." And he doesn't be like, "That didn't happen. You're crazy. That would never happen." That's not the type of conversations we have. We now have an altar for this entity in my home because of the powerful bond, and he's a father figure in my life and from my other lives that I feel so connected with. So I don't question these things anymore because I'm just so devoted. And it didn't matter that I was trying to do my earthly grading. I was so devoted, like, okay, he's talking to me. This is important. When he came to talk to me, I had messaged a human design astrologer on Instagram to tell her what happened to me because I briefly remember her like talking about it a little. And then she was like, oh, yeah, that makes total perfect sense. Like, these are the planets that are in alignment and that would happen. And I was like, "Oh my, there it is." Like it was his perfect timing to come to me with the way the planets had aligned. And I'm so devoted now in my practice that I wasn't going to be like, "Oh no, I'm doing my grades. You have to leave me alone." I was like, "Nope, bring it to me. Let's channel." And I wrote all that shit down because I was ready. I was devoted. So, that happened in late spring last year. Then lots of things happen to me all the time. These are very profound ones. This week, a very profound thing happened to me. And it was minutes before my husband came home. And it was beautiful. And I felt so held. And I felt so seen by the spiritual realm. And my husband came home. And I was like, the most beautiful thing happened before you came home while I was sitting here writing my paper. And I told him about it, and he gets excited now when I tell him these things because I said, "They were telling me their name, but it was really hard. Let me spell it for you," because sometimes that's how my brain works, and he starts spelling it out, and by, like, within a few minutes, we're online, and I try not always to do that stuff, but this one, I could not stand it. I was like, "I have to know who this is. Who came? Who is here?" And he found so much Greek mythology that aligned with what I was being told and who was there. So, those are just some of the profound things that have happened. So, devotion is not about becoming someone new. It's about staying in relationship with who you truly are. Regulate, observe, orient, tend, embody, devote. Rooted is not a one-time process. It is a way of living, and devotion is what makes it sustainable. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to return home to yourself. And every time you return back to you and to your spirituality, you strengthen that relationship with yourself. And that's where the power lives. And that's where we have spiritual maturity. And that is devotion. So please stay connected with me on the Wellness Studio podcast. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Head on over to ravenrabbit.com to sign up for my subscription list down the rabbit hole and get connected with me. I have so many offerings. I have so many different ways you can learn from me. There's another live opportunity coming up shortly that I will be releasing some podcasts and informations about, and I would love to see you in that container. And I also just have some simple things you can work on too. So once you sign up for my subscription list, you will get an email to prompt you to join my free course with freebies in it. So if that interests you, and that's always growing, anything that I feel that I want to add in there, it gets put into the freebie course and you have access to that course. So, thank you for listening. If you can, please give me a star rating. If you're listening on Shopify, you just head up to the top, click the stars. The more people who star rate this and comment and interact, the more this podcast gets pushed out to people who also need to hear it. So, like always, I love you. Take care and have a wonderful rest of the day.